Hi CSI students, it's Kate Featherston, your CSI advisor.
Hello, and I'm Tony Wells, your advisor and coordinator for CSI.
We're really excited to share with you our very first in a webinar series that we're doing this summer for you guys. This is entitled an interview webinar for you. We're going to go over some really essential and interesting topics for what not to do and what to do during an interview, what to wear, what not to wear, and then we're going to go into a mock interview where Tony pretends to be a CSI student.
As Kate mentioned, some of the goals that we have for the webinar today is for students, like yourselves, to be able to be confident, have confidence going into the interview process, knowing what things that you should and should not do, and having an idea about what the interviewer is looking for and being prepared. And so those are some of the things that we really would like for you all to get out of this webinar today. Thank you.
Okay. So we're going to start with first impressions, what employers are really looking for the second you come into the room. So the biggest thing is appearance. What do you look like? What are you wearing? Are you professionally dressed for the job? What is your hygiene like? Did you take a shower that day? And how appropriate you are for the position that you are being hired for. A lot of people say that you should dress for the job you want, not for the job you have, and that definitely applies here. So the second thing is we're also interested in your attitude, how you present yourself. Are you excited to be here? Are you happy to be here? We, as employers, we're not looking for someone who feels like they just woke up and they don't really want to be here. We want someone who is excited to come to work. And composure. What is your overall confidence? Are you really nervous? Is it something that you're not really comfortable with? That comes across so strongly for the interviewer the second you come in the room. So it's really important to think about these things and really have the most confidence possible. And that's why we're doing this webinar, so you guys can have that confidence that you really need.
Great. Great, and as Kate mentioned, we're going to go into the content. We look at things like alertness, conversation, experience, and knowledge. First, alertness. We want you to have the ability to be able to think on your feet. Sometimes questions come at you and you're not really prepared, but if you would remain confident and alert and then ask questions, I think it will go over very well. Next is conversation. We want to make sure that you have the ability to know the background and the qualifications and make sure that those qualifications and that background matches your the job that you're seeking. And then experience, we want you to know the field that you are transitioning into, be able to move, I think, quickly into that position and have some knowledge of where the company or where the program is going as far as what you're looking for.
And then we're also looking for your overall fit and differentiating factors. There are so many people that are interviewing for the same position, so we want you to stand out. We want your ambition to come across really clearly. We want your employer to know that this is something that will get you to the next level, that this isn't just any old job, this is something that you really want. Also sociability. We want you to come into the room and just have a really warm presence. We want the interviewer to want to be your friend, to want to get to know you. And suitability. We want your overall personality and knowledge of the field to really come across. So now we're going to do a mock interview in which I am going to play an employer and Tony is going to play a CSI student who wants to get a job at my company. So we're going to go over what the company is, what the job title is, and then Tony is going to come in and pretend to be a CSI student and get some stuff right and some stuff not so right, and we're going to go over why that is. So in this mock interview today, I am going to play the research coordinator for Boston Children's Hospital, and we're specifically in the obesity research department. So the job that Tony is trying to get is a research assistant who's in charge of helping design research projects, recruiting participants, collecting data, processing that data. So it's really heavy on the data. But there's also this human component. So I'm interested to see how Tony interacts with other people, but also I want to know his knowledge around the field that we're looking for. Hi.
Hello.
Welcome. I'm Kate.
Thank you, Tony.
So Tony, tell me about yourself.
Okay, I am a graduate of University of Boston, University of Massachusetts, Boston campus. I recently graduated, and I am definitely looking forward to finding the correct position for my skills that I have garnered over my college career. I moved to the Boston area. I'm not a native. I am here because I have always loved the New England area and just really wanted to get another school of thought in another region of the country, just so that I can grow as a person and grow as a student, and now grow as a person, employed person, in a field that I absolutely enjoy the most.
And tell me about what you majored in.
I majored in sociology with the emphasis in social work, and also doing some research on low-income first-generation students, and also looking at certain factors, home factors that deal with things that hinder them or is an obstacle for them to reach their full potential. So.
Great. And why are you interested in working for Boston Children? Why this hospital? Why not a different hospital?
I think that the more that I found out about your company and more about Boston Children's, I think you all are doing amazing work, especially with kids, kids in obesity, kids in low-income areas, kids from single-parent homes. I think those kinds of things are definitely near and dear to my heart as the kinds of things that I would like to continue looking at, continue researching in, and just be a part of an amazing organization.
Great. And then why are you interested in this research specifically?
Well, I think, excuse me, my phone off.
So that's one thing that so that is one thing that you definitely should not do during an interview is grab your phone, check it, turn it off even. Make sure that your phone is off before you even get in the interview. So now we're going to go back to the mock interview. Okay. So the question was, why are you interested in this research?
I think I'm very much so interested in this research because as a child, I was obese, and it's still a struggle for me. And I think that for a lot of kids growing up, that is something that is such a trying and such a burden to carry, especially as a young child. It definitely leaves scars. It definitely is something that makes you feel less than. And I think, giving folks hope going into their adult years and learning more about that type of research is very, very close to me. Because I want to help students realize that they have the potential to change their lives, and given the right tools, they can. And I think that's why this research is so important to me, and I would definitely want to be a part of it.
So that was the perfect answer. So Tony connected the answer back to himself. So it wasn't just about the research, it wasn't just about the job, it was really about who he is as a person. So if you can connect the job and to your passions, to what you want to do, how you want to change the world, that looks so good to the employer because they know that you're not just here for a paycheck, you're really here because you care. And Tony did a really excellent job of just succinctly saying that this is something I'm interested in, this is something that I've always been interested in, and I think I can really make a difference, and that was just perfect. Tell me about your experience working with children.
I have been working with children, I think, for most of my college career, you know, doing camps, oh, I just lost my train of thought. Sorry. Could you repeat the question?
So this is something that a lot of people, I definitely do in interviews sometimes where I completely lose what I want to say. But I think the best thing is just to calm yourself, keep your composure. You can ask the interviewer to repeat the question, but try really hard to just think about your answer before you start saying it. That is a really good method to not get kind of lost in your thoughts. So the question was, tell me about your experience working with children.
Okay. My experience working with children, I think really began when I was in high school. I worked with camps, different camps throughout the summer in high school and different camps throughout the summer during my college career. I worked with a camp for obese kids, and that led to research in childhood obesity and also working with low-income students, trying to give them tools in order to be prepared for going to college. So did kind of a myriad of camps and different topics and different themes. And I think those experiences really gave me a good opportunity to look at these kinds of positions where I can do research, but also have that human component where, you know, I'm actually interacting with kids. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah.
What was your favorite part about those jobs?
I think my favorite part about those different experiences with the camps is seeing a kid being so self-conscious and not really having any confidence at the beginning of the camp, and then my working with them and giving them the opportunity to see themselves and to see their strengths and weaknesses, and then working on them succinctly throughout the duration of the camp. And then at the end of the camp, seeing them just hold their head up a little bit higher and feeling good about themselves and moving forward.
Great. So that was a great response from an interviewer perspective, because I'm really looking for someone that has that human connection, and Tony definitely has that. And when I ask a question about what is your experience working with children, I'm really looking for that human connection there. So that was a really great answer. So tell me, Tony, what is your experience with research design?
As far as research goes, I think I have, it's definitely limited, but I was able to do in my senior year at UMass Boston the research on low-income first-generation students within the College of Education. And in that particular research, we looked at, you know, the college-going rate of students and the different factors and different obstacles and barriers that would hinder them from pursuing their college degree or going on for a post-secondary degree. And not so much in, you know, the science, but definitely the research portion. I was able to gain some research skills doing that project within the College of Education.
So what was great about Tony's answer here is that he didn't pretend that he knew everything. He didn't say that he had a ton of experience when he didn't, but he definitely showed that he does have some experience, and he really was specific about what it was, what he did, and I think that's exactly what we're looking for. Maybe if you could have elaborated a little bit more on the research, but maybe that could be my follow-up question too. But sometimes your interviewer won't ask that follow-up question, so you really want to be as specific as possible just to make sure that they know the full extent of your research. So instead of just saying, this is the topic I did, maybe you could go into what part you had in the research design, how you conducted it, if you worked with other people, just in case they don't ask those bigger questions later. So Tony, tell me about your biggest strength.
You know, it's always funny when folks ask you that question and you think you're going to have an immediate answer, but it's like somewhat difficult. I would say that I am hardworking. I really take pride in the fact that I want to give my all to whatever position, whatever project, whatever mission, vision for the position and for the organization as a whole, that I am 100% invested. And I think that is definitely a big strength of mine. I definitely work well with others. Let's see. I don't really like talking about myself as far as strength. It makes me feel awkward. I feel like I do try to be mindful of deadlines. I think I build rapport very easily with others, giving them the opportunity to know me, being open, being transparent, and I think those are definitely some of the things that are my strengths coming into a new position.
Great. So this is a really common question. It may come across in different ways, but interviewers really want to know how you interact and how you respond to work. So if there's any way that you can prepare for this, it's really just to think about what your strengths are. You can ask your friends, you can ask us to help you, to really set those out ahead of time, so it's not something that you kind of have to fish for in the interview. And going off of that, what is your biggest weakness?
I think my biggest weakness would be, I think I tend sometimes to not focus a lot on just the minutiae, like the little minute things. I'm more of an individual that thinks about the big picture. I'm thinking like the big picture is greater than the sum of the parts. But I'm having to realize that the parts is what make the whole, and that I have to pay attention to every detail. And sometimes I think that could be a hindrance for me. But that's something that I'm definitely working on, to be more specific, to be more, in charge of the details of the projects or of the organizational kinds of things that go on, and being more mindful of that. So definitely something that I have worked on and I am working on.
So Tony had a really great answer to this, and that is that you don't say that you don't have a weakness. So everyone has some weakness, but he turned it around, and it wasn't so much this is a weakness and that's just how it is. He has this plan for making it better. He recognizes it in himself, and he is working on it. I think that's the key to any weakness that you say in an interview, is that you're working on it, you recognize it, and that sort of self-awareness is something that employers really look for. Okay. Give me an example of a time that you worked with a team, Tony.
With a team?
A team.
A team. Okay. Yeah, sometimes team. Well, I could say my last team that I worked with, it was horrible. I really didn't like working in that environment. I didn't like the supervisor. The job was awful, and so normally I get along with the team, but that kind of like put a damper in my life as far as like if I'm gonna do it, I need to do it myself, and I don't need to try to be working with a group of people that are not committed, that are not focused on the goal at hand. And I think that is something that I'm now getting back to working on is working with a team. And yeah, I just really hated my last job. I hated the whole experience. I hated everything about it. It was just not good. As you can tell, I'm having a reaction right now about it. So that's how awful it was. Yeah, I hated it.
So never be this negative in an interview. So even if your last job was terrible, and we've all had terrible jobs, never tell your interviewer that. For them, they want to see kind of the rosy picture of your experience. They don't really, you can talk about challenges, but don't say, I hated this, or I really didn't like that, or that person was really annoying. Even if they were, you can talk about the team was very challenging. Maybe the team dynamics were challenging. But this question specifically, I'm looking for a time where you really worked well with a team. So if an employer asks anything about a team, usually it means that you're going to be working on one. So you really want to portray the fact that you are a team player, that you are comfortable working on a team. So if the employer only hears you talking about how much you hated a team, that says to them that maybe you aren't the best fit because you won't work well with other people. So even if your last job was terrible and the team was terrible, you can frame it in a way that makes it a learning experience and makes it less of a negative experience. So really just painting a picture that is more positive is a really important thing for this question for sure. Next question. So how does this job fit with your long-term plans?
I think it would be a great stepping stone for me in terms of getting my feet wet in the research and doing more research, because I think that's one of the areas that I definitely want to, become more proficient in and moving forward. And I think this particular position will definitely help me do that. And also learning more about the work environment and the kinds of day-to-day things that I need to be aware of, and going back to the portion of working on the day-to-day things and meeting deadlines. And I think in this environment that would help me, to hone those skills of being able to be more analytical, be more focused on the details, so that the end result will be a great outcome. Mm-hmm. So I think that will help me in my move forward in this field.
Great. So the great part of this answer is that Tony realized that this position was a stepping stone in this field. So this is an entry-level position. Your boss or your employer doesn't expect you to stay there forever. So it's really great for me as an employer to see Tony is interested in moving up in the field, is interested in learning more. He's really curious about learning more. So that tells me that he's in this for the long haul. And maybe if he's not in this position forever, he's still interested in moving forward with this kind of research. And that tells me that he really thinks a lot about his future, and that this is a really a firm plan that he's making for himself. It's not something that he just thought of last minute. And that's a really great answer, Tony. So next question, this is really to give us an opportunity to find out how you would work in this environment. So tell me about what you would do if you needed to recruit a family for our study, but the parents are not interested. They really aren't, they don't know a lot about the project. They have heard maybe bad things about it, and they are just not interested in working with us. How would you try to persuade them?
Okay. I think one of the things that I feel is a strength that I have is building rapport with individuals, families of different backgrounds, because I want them to feel, comfortable that this is something that we're doing for the good of all, that we are looking at this as something where I want them to be a part of, and that if we're doing this together, we are looking at something that is going to benefit not only the family, but your child, and moving forward and having a successful life. I think sometimes it is difficult when you are working with parents from low-income backgrounds. They feel untrustworthy, and I think relating that to them, because I come from that background, and I know that I was very untrusting of authority figures and folks telling me that I need to participate in this and this is for your good, and telling me what's best for me. And I think having them to feel comfortable in the process, and really, getting in and working with them and showing them that, I am definitely here to better things, to work with you and you work with me, and finding out things that they like, finding out things that they enjoy, and their son or daughter, and going to their programs, or inviting myself to events and things that they like, just to let them know that I'm there with them and that we are going through this process together. I think is how I would handle trying to win over a reluctant parent to research.
So this was a really great response. Tony mentioned at the very beginning that he would build a rapport. He could have stopped there and said, like, that is exactly what I would do. But instead of stopping there, he elaborated and talked about how he would go about doing that. So he really proved to me as an interviewer that he knows how to do that. And he would be able to do that in a working environment. So that gives me a lot of confidence in him, also because he had confidence in himself. So that was a really great answer to that question. So Tony, tell me about a time that you failed.
Ooh. The old failure. Wow. Going back and thinking back. I guess it's a lot of things that I failed at, but then I'm just trying to pick the one that seemed the least horrible. Well, I think one particular event that took place that really made my confidence level go down and just really jolted me. I was working on a project at a previous job, working at a camp, and I was responsible for making sure that the students were all in the same place and on time, and making sure that they had all of their, parts and pieces that they needed in order to work within the project. And I overslept, and I got them there late, and the program had already started, and it was just really embarrassing. And then they missed the first portion of the event, and I think that took away from their experience because of something that I did, and not being prepared. And I really wasn't prepared for the day, and I didn't have all of my ducks, if you will, all of my ducks in a row. And that really makes you feel, small, or make you feel less than when you're trying to impress, your supervisor, and then all of a sudden you just make a big misstep that kind of really changes the whole scope of things, for not only for you, but more so for the students involved. So that was a big blow to my ego, and I really learned from that experience that It is so important to be on time. It is so important that you have someone else's, future, that someone else's growth or someone else's opportunity to learn something to better themselves, and you rob them of that. Is just, yeah, something I don't ever want to go through again. So I think that will be a big deal for me.
So this is a question that you should always have in your back pocket. You should always be thinking of times in which you didn't do the greatest, because that happens all the time in the workplace. So Tony started out a little rocky there where he was saying, oh, I don't know which one to pick because there's so many. So you don't want to say something like that. You definitely want to know what you're saying and own what you're saying. And Tony definitely did that, where he recognized his mistake and he talked about how his mistake affected other people. So that sort of being able to see the bigger picture is really important. So it's not just, I made a mistake and my boss was mad. Well, he made a mistake and it really impacted his work and the experience of other people. And he really talked about how he all learned from that, and it was something that in the future he won't do because this was a bad experience. So it started on a rocky note, but then ended up really great. Okay, do you have any questions for me, Tony?
I think as far as the position and the program, what do you see as far as the vision or the move in research for this position, and how much time will I be spending, provided I get the job, in the research portion as opposed to service portion?
So the position is mostly research, I would say. It's probably maybe 20% service and then 80% research and data collection. So you'd get a lot of experience with that. We are moving towards thinking a little bit more about teenage obesity as well. So in the past, we've thought about it a little more about children, and now we're moving up to an older age group. So your team would actually be one of the first people to work on that project.
Cool. Okay, great. Definitely something that I am interested in seeing it progress from the childhood obesity, and as you mentioned, in the teen obesity, because that too is starting to be something that is growing across the country. The unhealthy eating habits and unhealthy kinds of meals that they have in the school system, to be honest. But could you just tell me exactly the kind of person that you think you would want to supervise in this position? What do you see and what do you want that person to have? What skills, what kind of fit do you want that person to really have?
I think we definitely want someone that can interact with our participants. So we want someone that can really connect to the people that we're working with, whether it's the families or the children. I think that's the first and foremost part of it, because data collection really comes from those participants. So if you can't get them into the study, or if you can't get them interested in the study, then we really don't have data. So that's the key thing. We're also looking for someone who can work both independently and as a team. It's really a job that is a lot of working by yourself and getting things together, but also working as a group collaboratively. And those are probably the key aspects, but we're also looking for someone who has experience with data, that's interested in learning more. This is an entry-level position, so we don't expect you to know everything, but we definitely want a desire to learn too.
Great. Oh no, that's great. I think one other question, as far as the environment, supervisor, then you have your team. Do you see any changes or foreseeable changes in the structure of the organization and how it operates, or is it pretty much that's the way it has been with that kind of dynamic with your supervisor? Is there like an executive person, and if so, in that structure, is there room to move up from this position?
Yep, so our structure is pretty set in stone, so we're operated on a grant. So we are really funded by that grant in a way that we have to apply to certain rules, and that we have to make sure that our structure fits within those guidelines. But there's definitely room to move up. We've got a lot of options where you can move up to, say, my position or my boss's position, but it all takes experience, and we usually hire internally before we go to hire externally for those upper positions.
Okay.
Yep. But it was really great to meet you, Tony.
Thank you.
And I will definitely give you a call back soon.
Thank you so much. I appreciate this opportunity.
Okay, so Tony's questions at the end there were really great. So it focused on what's going to happen next. It focused on learning a little bit more about the organization, and he really responded to my answers by talking a little bit more about what he knew about the subject itself. So it was really conversational, and it didn't feel forced. But 3 questions is really great to just have in your back pocket. Also during the interview, if the interviewer says anything that kind of strikes your fancy and you really want to learn more about it, make sure you try to keep that as a mental note. That's something great to ask at the end. A final question that would be really great too is asking what the next steps are in the interview process. So that shows that you're really interested in moving forward. So if I was the interviewer, that would tell me that, hey, this person is looking forward to hearing from me, so maybe I should get back to them sooner and not just leave them hanging. But so that was a really great interview, and I would probably put him in my final round of interviewees for this position. But we're going to talk really quickly about dress. Yes. So dressing for an interview, what is acceptable, what is not acceptable for both women and for men. So we're going to go to Tony's colorful outfit today to give you an idea. So Tony's wearing some, here if you want to stand up, Tony, yep. So he's got a blazer on, and he's got some red pants on and some boat shoes. So Tony, do you want to describe your outfit?
Okay, so as far as my outfit goes, this is definitely something that you would not want to wear to an interview. Seasonally speaking, if you're looking at applying for a job and it's in the spring, this jacket would be perfect, maybe with a white shirt, tie, and a bow tie. Definitely some shoes that are not boat shoes, but some dress shoes to make it more professional and more formal. And definitely you would not wear red pants to an interview. More so you would have, if you have this jacket, blue jacket, and you want to have maybe some navy blue pants to go with it, so that it will be more polished and more professional. Definitely I have no tie, and it's a checkered shirt. This definitely overall would not be the ideal attire for a professional interview.
Mm-hmm. And tucking in your shirt too, that's a really key thing. Yeah.
Yes, and definitely tuck in your shirt, because this is like really raggedy. I'm going to like a dinner near the beach or something. So yeah, you definitely don't want to have your shirt hanging out. And that's just not a good look at all.
And this outfit would be perfect for a day at the office maybe, but not so much when you're interviewing for your position. So you really want to dress above what you're getting interviewed for. So even though it would be totally acceptable for him to wear this to the office. Some offices are even cool if you wear t-shirts, but you shouldn't wear those to the interview. So we could talk about my outfit too. So I just have a pencil skirt on and a plain colored tank top with maybe some ruffles here. I'm a little tall, so I'm off screen. And then just a blazer to match here. And I kept jewelry really minimal. I don't have a lot of makeup on. My hair is very plain, and I have some ballet flat shoes on. So this could be pretty much what you would wear to a pretty formal interview. I might have done my hair a little better for a more formal interview. But if I was interviewing at this environment, I would definitely wear something very similar. Maybe roll down my cuffs a little bit, but other than that, girls, just make sure that you keep your jewelry and your makeup really minimal. You don't want to distract from your message, which is that you want to get hired.
Absolutely. And as you said, the same for guys. Like you, you really do not want to go to an interview where you have like all this jewelry on and you got a chain on. You don't want to be wearing dark shades. If you're gonna do like a beard, it needs to be properly trimmed. Like I don't have any facial hair right now. Maybe it's some stubble, but that's okay. And I probably will want to trim that up a little bit. But definitely, if you want to make sure that you look professional, that you groom your beard, make sure your hair, if you have hair, in my case, you want to shave, and if you are going to sport a bald head, that it needs to be shaven. And if you have hair and it's like a little unkempt, you need to definitely go to the barbershop and get a nice haircut, and just really look the part. And as Kate mentioned in the beginning of the interview, you want to dress and you want to look the part, and that way they know that you're taking this seriously. Yep. So.
Yep. So we really want to thank you guys for joining us today. This is the first in a series of webinars. We're going to get some professionals to come talk to you guys too. We're going to have lots of different topics this summer and this fall. So we really hope you enjoy this, and definitely give us feedback. So this is the first one. So if you really enjoyed it, let us know. If you have suggestions, let us know that too. So we'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.